right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping into something pretty wild. A theory that basically says the weird rules of quantum physics might be connected to the mystery of how you think.
So, let's just start with this huge question, right? What if the very same math that physicists use to describe, atoms and tiny particles, what if that could also explain how a single thought just pops into your head? Okay, so to even begin to wrap our heads around this, we've got to take a quick trip into the bizarre world of quantum mechanics.
So, the key idea here, the absolute bedrock of quantum mechanics, is something called the wave function. And look, you can just think of it like a recipe, a mathematical list of all the possibilities for a particle. Before you actually measure it, an electron isn't in one specific spot. No way. It's kind of like a ghost, existing in all the places it could be, all at the same time. And get this isn't just some wild guess. It's literally how reality works at the tiniest levels. It's like the universe itself is running on probabilities, just holding all its options open until something or someone forces it to pick one.
All right, so hold that thought about quantum possibilities. We're going to jump from that tiny, subatomic world right into the universe you carry around between your ears.
Okay, first things first, you gotta throw out that old image of the brain as just a bunch of wires or, a computer. Instead, this theory wants us to imagine it as a mental manifold. Picture this vast, dynamic landscape of electrical signals, just shimmering with energy, where your thoughts and memories aren't fixed points, but are more like currents flowing in a massive ocean. So, here is the big leap, right? How on earth do we build a bridge between these two completely different worlds? The quantum world of particles and the conscious world of us.
Well, this is where a framework called continuity theory makes its most audacious claim. It basically says that Schrödinger's equation, that famous equation that describes all those quantum probabilities, can be used as an analogy for how our brains work. I mean, think about that. The exact same kind of math, just applied to a totally different thing.
And this right here really nails the core idea. You see, on one side, you've got the particle's wave function. It tells you the odds of finding a particle right here. And on the other side, you've got the mind's wave function. And that represents the odds that a particular thought or a specific feeling is going to crystallize and pop into your head. So, according to this model, your brain is in this constant push and pull, this energy balancing act. You've got what they call strain flow. That's kind of like the kinetic energy, the new information, the electrical signals just flowing freely across your cortex. But then you've got this other force, the potential energy, which they call memory wells. And that's like the powerful gravitational pull of all your established memories, your emotions, your goals. Okay, but for an analogy this big to hold any water, you'd expect both worlds, the quantum one and the one in our heads, to play by some similar ground rules, right? And that's exactly what this theory proposes. It calls them strain marks. So what are strain marks? Honestly, you can just think of them as the fundamental rules of the game. They're like the absolute limits or the constants that stop everything from just being random chaos. They're the reason that all this flowing energy has to organize itself into stable shapes and patterns. And it doesn't matter if that pattern ends up being the particle or a new idea. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Look at these parallels. In physics, you have Planck's constant, the absolute smallest unit of action. Well, in the brain, you have the action potential, the smallest all-or-nothing signal a neuron can fire. Physics has an ultimate speed limit, the speed of light. The brain? It has its own speed limit, how fast a signal can travel down an axon. Even stable electron orbits have a parallel in our stable brainwave frequencies like alpha and gamma. It's almost like these aren't just coincidences, but hints at some universal rules for how things get organized. Okay, so what does all this mean for you right now? Well, it all boils down to something they call the R ratio. It's basically the balance between that free-flowing new energy, the kinetic part, and the pull of your old memories, the potential part. If that ratio is super low, your mind is just static, a lot of noise, no clear thought. But when it's in that sweet spot, when things are balanced, bam, a clear, stable thought forms. And when the ratio gets really high, that's when you have those big, complex aha moments where everything just clicks into place. And all of this, all these ideas have been building up to a really profound, and I gotta say, a pretty beautiful conclusion about what your consciousness actually is.
So let's go back to that core mystery of quantum mechanics for a second. It's this idea of superposition. It means that before you look, a particle isn't one thing. It's a cloud, a haze of all the things it could possibly be, all at once.
Now, think about your own mind. Have you ever been totally undecided about something? Like, should I go left or right? Or should I take this job or stay where I am? In that moment, you are literally holding multiple different futures, multiple different versions of you in your head at the exact same time. That is a mental superposition.
And in physics, what happens when a scientist finally makes a measurement? That whole cloud of possibilities just collapses. It vanishes, and only one single reality is left. The particle is now here, and it's not anywhere else.
Okay, so here it is, the big finale. This theory says that in your mind, attention is the measurement. Your focus, the simple act of paying attention to one thing, is what collapses that whole fuzzy cloud of potential thoughts and feelings. It's what takes all those possibilities and turns them into one single, concrete, conscious thought.
So what this theory is really suggesting is that out of this infinite ocean of possibilities swirling around in your head, your attention is literally an act of creation. It's how you select one reality out of countless potentials. Which leaves us with a pretty powerful final question, doesn't it? Of all the things you could be thinking, what thought are you choosing to make real right now?